Hello everyone. Comments will appear here. How are we all doing? Anybody on? How are we all doing? Hello Katie B, how are you? So gorgeous ones. I am normally do my archetypal readings on a Friday night, but I have recently in the last hour or so developed a little bit of a nasal stuff and some headaches. So I won't be doing any readings, but I'm quite happy to have a little bit of a chat and see how everyone's going. But I don't think it's ethical to try and do readings for people when they're a bit blocked up and snotty and not feeling very good, because if I give a bad reading, then you could take that advice and then have negative experiences with it. So I just thought I would check in, let everybody know what's going on, and just see how everyone's doing. Hi Marie. I'm not doing any readings tonight. Not feeling crash hot, but I did wonder if anyone wanted to ask any questions about archetypes, if anyone wanted to see how they've been going, and just do some nice community sharing like we're in a circle. We can do that. Connie's been feeling very similar. Brenda, you're like, good morning. So, whereabouts are you from, Brenda? Thank you, Alicia. I hope I feel better too. My brother's got a lovely little freakish cold, and there's one that's been going around his workplace. So I think my body's just battling it full on, and I'm a bit of a witch doctor, so I just take every herb and supplement that's in the house. Oh, thank you, Kate. Nicole's in Montreal. Did I say that right, Nicole? Montreal. And Brenda's from the US of A. Whereabouts in the USA, Brenda? I've been over a couple of times. I also wanted to tell you about a Facebook challenge that I've got going on in my group. So I'll just put in the comments here a link to my group. And what I'm doing is called a storyteller challenge. And it's for people who are wanting to practice getting on lives. It's a twofold challenge. So sometimes people who are hesitant about wanting to be seen and be heard. Oh, Massachusetts. I hope I said that one right too, Brenda. And so if you've got a business, you're thinking about getting on businesses, you want to one day do readings live like I do, but you're fearing being seen, the Storyteller Challenge is really good for that, because what it does is all you have to do is tell a story about a moment in your past which helped change your life in a positive way. So it's an inspiring story. And the reason I chose to do this is because when people want to hop online, quite often the perfectionist is the biggest cause for not getting online. Your perfectionist archetype will be oh, what if I say something wrong? What if I lose my thought? What if I stare off over there? What if I don't have my makeup perfect? What if, you say what if a lot. And you actually spend so much time worrying about what you're going to look and sound like that you don't ever do anything and you activate the procrastinator. So this particular challenge is really good for the perfectionist in particular, because you don't have to think about anything. You don't have to have a script. You don't have to have like this perfect set out. You just hop on and you're recalling a memory. And when it's an inspiring memory and an inspiring story, it makes it all the more potent and easy to recall, get into the flow, just like you're having a chat and you're enjoying your time. So I really have done that for two reasons. One, for those people who are wanting to be seen, but there's a secondary reason. The people who are in my beautiful group who have kind of had a really tough life. There's a lot of things that have gone on with them. There's a lot of stuff that's happened to them in the past. It's really nice to have your journey witnessed and to tell your story and the things that have inspired you to change. And quite often we connect with our stories because we all go through similar journeys. We have similar issues. We have similar trauma, similar challenges. So it's nice to be able to inspire other people with your story, which is the main part that's really potent as well. Because when you've got your archetypes with your self-esteem, which is Caroline Myss's survival archetypes, the child, the victim, the saboteur, and the prostitute. When they're activated, one of those is going to be causing the perfectionist to not want to come through. And if you actually can tell yourself, I'm doing it for a higher reason, I'm doing it to inspire people, then you go into service-based thinking. You go into a higher cause. So you will activate the could be the healer, the teacher, the guide. It can be the lover, like the self-love, the ultimate lover. So you love yourself enough. So you're in those higher archetypes, which can help pull you out of the perfectionist as well. Because quite often, if we've been stuck in archetypes which are about, so there's certain ones like the shapeshifter, the empath, the martyr, where you kind of get that poly pleaser. You are constantly over and over doing things for other people and you're not putting yourself first. So quite often we have those self-worth issues. And in this instance, you activate those higher callings to be of service and you use it for a greater good, basically. So you can do things for other people a lot easier, and it's a way of tricking your perfectionist and tricking your procrastinator and any other sabotaging patterns, because quite often what you need to do is you need to have that purpose. You need to have that reasoning behind what you're doing so that you have a reason to be courageous. And that's the real link. If you're wanting to get over a fear, if you're wanting to get over a phobia, if you're wanting to get over any of that, then you need a call to action, a higher purpose. And that's why I think the Storyteller Challenge is particularly well thought out and almost tricky of me. And I'm quite proud of it because I've addressed looking at those perfectionists, and I've been looking at, what can be a higher aspect to call them to action. So I've put the link to my group in there, and there's more of a description if you wanted to take place with the storyteller and get on and tell your story of something that inspired you and face any fears that you have of being seen. I'm really quite proud of it. And there's a couple of really lovely ladies. I think there's about 5 people that have taken the challenge up so far, and I'll be doing it for about a week. But is anyone listening? Do you want to get on and do Facebook Lives? Are you thinking about wanting to go online with your business, or do you have a fear of being seen? I'm actually curious to see if anyone who's watching wants to actually address this issue and be seen more. Oops. Anyone? I'm just going to take a sip. Hang on. Well, it doesn't look like anyone wants to comment. And we've got Francis Peterson. So beautiful, Francis. What's your biggest fear about wanting to get on live? And what's your what's the thing that's holding you back, do you reckon? Actually, I might be able to. Francis, you actually articulating your message. Because I'm on my phone, I actually have the ability to bring you on live with me right now. Do you want to be brave enough and hop on live with me? And there's not very many people watching. So did you want to be ultra brave and come on live now and we can chat? Or would that be too freaky? My throat's a little bit dry. I'm just going to take another sip. Okay. Yeah, I've done that correctly. Hello, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm so impressed. How brave of you.
I used to do some lives and then I stopped doing them for a while and then just lost the courage.
Oh, cool. And so do you have a business that you're wanting to take online or it's already online?
It's when you say online, I'm a healer and I do different modalities and I do readings, face and birth date readings. So there's a range of things that I do to support women to gain confidence, interestingly enough. But sometimes I get confused as to what my message, what I want to focus on, because I have
Yep.
a range of different interests, I suppose.
Yep. That's, I think, can be really the harder part as well. And but when I'm helping my clients with that issue, if you were to close your eyes right now and imagine your ideal client, like somebody that is going to be coming in and needing help from you, what's some of the things that they're going through right now? How are they feeling? What are their doubts?
It can vary, but they're usually feeling stuck. They're at a crossroads. They know that they're overwhelmed, they're tired, they're confused. Yeah, so it mostly, in those terms.
Perfect. So those exact words that you just said to me can be your topic points. Because when you're writing content and you're wanting to reach your ideal clients, you have to, when they're scrolling through Facebook, and you need to be able to say something in that moment, or even on Instagram, which attracts their attention.
Yeah.
So, so we focus in on their feeling stuck. Why would they be feeling stuck?
I'm away at the moment in Queensland on a nice little holiday. I'm trying to think.
No. There's no.
I'm trying to think.
There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to think back to the last inquiry. Somebody who's knows that they're probably, they're lonely. She's lonely. She's wanting a change. She's actually wanting to meet new people. Realizes that maybe the work she's doing is not a good fit for her anymore. Yeah.
Perfect. So when you've broken it down in even further step, so you've got that she knows that she's tired, she's stuck, but then you break it down further and she's stuck because she's having issues, probably with confidence, with making connections and different things like that. So what you do is I break it down in layers for them. When you do it this way, you can come up with content ideas for like 3 years, and but you speak directly to them.
Yeah.
So if you were to do a live, write an article, do posters, any of those things, you would lead it with, are you struggling to form connections with people? And then you talk about how they would be feeling, so that they can go, oh, this person really understands what I'm saying. This person knows exactly how I'm feeling. This person knows me. Yeah. And then you then go into a little bit about how maybe you've struggled with that, if it's that's been an issue. So I call that a block and a breakthrough post. So if you've gone through that specific thing, then you can talk about your block, and then you talk about your breakthrough, and they go, oh my goodness, this woman truly, understands, and it builds genuine connection. So all the people that are in my group, on my pages, I'm completely myself. I don't wear makeup. I'm goofy. I've got a strange sense of humor. I'm talking to a bunch of people while I'm in bed, not feeling very well, and I'm wholeheartedly myself. But they learn through the way that I'm talking to them that I can help them in these particular areas, because they're my superpowers or they're my strengths. So it's a way you've got to always think, well, what is my client going through now? And you can sit there and you can journal, like, not just the ones that have inquired with you in the past, but like the ones that you really want to serve, the ones that you really want to help, the ones that you, feel like you actually can help. It's the reason that you're doing the work. And what is that person going through? And so that's how I structure the ideas for my lives and the ideas for my posts and different things and another important aspect is to talk about any certifications you've done, any qualifications that you've done, anything that you've trained in, but like letting them know about the life experience as well. Like if you've gone through 10 years of such and such, you've gone through grief, bad relationship, lost in love, any of those different things, if that's going to be what you're helping people with, then you've got to be vulnerable enough to let people see what you know.
Yeah.
I've been through that too, and it helps build that further connection. And but you're very brave hopping on live right now, so I don't feel like you've got too much of an issue with not being courageous. It's just some of the people I do help, funnily enough, they'll come in and they'll have one of the ladies I've got right now is crystal healer, Reiki, angel healer, sacred, I've forgotten the modality, sacred soul alignment. And that's just to name a couple of them that she's done over the last decade.
Yeah.
And she's very much like, well, which one, what do I talk about?
Yeah.
And, what do I do, kind of thing. So do you do one-on-ones with people, or do you do packages?
Yeah, I do one-on-ones, and I have got a program called Know Your Next Steps. So it's kind of organised. So it's created to, help them have a reading first, help clarify their personality. It's like a personality profiling where their gifts and talents can be reflected back to them, what their purpose is, and from there I can help them move forward, basically. So it's like a 3-session program. So yeah.
Perfect. Carol just wrote, women like to hear your personal story so they can relate to it. They like to know that you've been in that place before. Exactly. And so when you're creating your content as well, you have to look at very, very bluntly, but in a very sacred way, letting people know what you've got. So you put out that you go, book in a session, describe what happens in the session, and then also talk about the packaging. This is the biggest breakthrough that I went through, as I would give all this yummy content for quite a while, and I put it out there, and it wasn't until I actually just asked for the sale and said, this is my offering, I've got this deal, you get all these different things, and because I've spent so much time building genuine connection, and I know what I'm talking about, because I talk about archetypes, and I talk about content, and I talk about all this stuff, and I provide the value. When I put the offer out there was a really good response, and I launched the group coaching program, and I have 6 wonderful ladies in it, and I was quite happy with that, because if I got any more, I probably would have not been able to handle all of it going into it, the setup and stuff. And I had this realization that if I'd have probably asked earlier, I would have, been able to start it like a month beforehand. I just had to actually specifically say, I'm launching it on this date, and actually ask for it, and not be afraid to do the calls to action, and ask them, let them know that they can message you, that you're available.
Yeah.
So I don't think lives need to be everything. A lot of people go, oh, do lives, but I think if you did X amount a week, 2 a week, 3 a week kind of things, it's the fastest way to build trust.
Okay.
But it's very boring if they're all just videos. So I do recommend putting in some posters, putting in some articles. If you have any events coming up, you're networking with someone else, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So it's really beneficial to kind of address all the different areas, and then you can cross-purpose your content. You can share it to Insta, you can load it to YouTube, you can put it on LinkedIn. You can quite quickly repurpose the content and share it all around. So
yeah, thank you. Thanks, Jess.
I invite you to come into the group and do a live on something that inspires you, because I can tell that there's quite a few people in my group who would like to, but they're too nervous. So that's another reason of why I wanted to do the challenges for those who aren't scared of getting on live. Can inspire those. And it was really interesting reading the comments for the people who have done the challenge, because people connect with what they say. I had a teacher like that too, and different things. So it's quite lovely.
Beautiful. Well, thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being so brave and hopping on.
Yeah.
You've taken that step. Look at you go.
Thank you.
And all the best with your business.
Thank you.
Get on there, do your lives, be consistent, and let people connect with you and hear what you can do. But just keep talking, breaking down like I took you through. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? And how can you help them so that you can really connect with them?
Beautiful. I'll take that on board. Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Okay. So, is there anybody else who would like to come online and ask me any questions? And in a very talkative mood. And Oh, Jazz has gone. Good on you, Francis, for taking the first step. And no stress. That's lovely. My phone just keeps saying Francis over and over and over is watching, so it must be having a little connection. Is there anybody else who would like to come on? I think you have to be on your mobile for it to work. Hey, Claire. Yeah, so I'm comfortable sitting up in bed where it's A, warm, and B, I can try and feel that little bit better. Oh, I'm not doing any readings tonight, Claire. I'm not feeling crash hot, so I'm just doing either archetypes or content coaching, and allowing people to pop on and we can have a chat. Is there anybody else feeling brave enough to hop on and ask any questions for their businesses or content related or archetypes? Well, that's awful, Claire. You were in the Northern Rivers, I believe, weren't you? So, Nicole, archetypes are like your personality traits. So Claire, I'm not a clairvoyant who channels answers to things. I only use the cards, and I've got a stuffed up head. So I'm not going to be doing any readings for anyone. So Nicole's asked, how do you know your archetype? So if you look through your personality traits and you start to look at them that way, so sometimes people will have the teacher, the healer, the priestess, the detective. There's the alchemist. You can be warrior. You can have a knight, a damsel in distress. The damsel in distress is also the princess. There can be the bully, the martyr. So when archetypes, you think of it as this way. No matter what country you go to and what language you speak, if you ask somebody, what are the characteristics of a mother, or a pirate, or a thief, or a warrior, soldier, not a soldier, and because policemen, firemen, and all that can have the warrior as well. So, no matter what country you are, what language you are, you can be in the Amazon forest and hardly have ever seen a soul, and they would still describe the mother in the same way. But you got to remember that all archetypes can have a light or a shadow aspect. So you can have mothers in shadow, so they're not doing the right thing. Same with the father archetype. You can have knight and warrior in shadow as well. So you have archetypes as you go through your personality trait, Nicole, and as you're going through them, there'll be some that might stand out. But the other thing that you can do is to ask people, what are you good at? And like ask family and friends that know you really well, like, what am I good at? And they can sometimes give you some insights, and you're like, oh wow. So I have the mediator, and I have an innate ability that if someone's having an argument, or if somebody is causing issues, I can just diffuse the situation and mediate really well. Been able to do it since I was a teenager. So that's another thing you can do, is like, what is a consistent characteristic trait and characteristic pattern that has been through my life, and you can find some of the more specific ones. So then you have what Caroline Myss talks about, is every single person on the planet has the 4 survival archetypes. And when I'm doing my coaching or relationship archetypal counseling, I tie those 4 into your self-esteem system. In this particular way, you've got your child archetype. Is usually, it can go like a domino effect. So your child archetype is where you get hurt, offended, you're worried about embarrassing yourself, you're worried about somebody blaming you, and she talks about how you have multiple different types of child. So you have a magical child, an adult child. It's the child archetype is the hardest one to work out. So for example, I have the magical child, which sounds cute, but it's actually, when it's in shadow, it's not so cute. So the positive aspects and the light aspects of the magical child is I've got a fantastic imagination, and I can, be a good dreamer. But when I go into shadow, I'm into avoidance. I don't like confrontation. I don't like shock. I don't like feeling out of control, because I'm also an Aries. So if I lose control of a situation, what happens is I want to go and stick my head in the sand. I want to avoid the situation at all costs. I want to run away from it, because I don't want to face reality. That's what the magical child is like. La 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 la. Like, I just want everything to go well. And if I can't, and I've lost control of the situation, like with COVID, that was really fascinating, because with COVID I lost control of the situation. There's nothing I can do about it. I just moved just as it was happening, The job I was going to and the other ones I was going to apply for all disappeared. And I've had to go on this journey of self-employment and starting an online business and pursuing this aspect, which it worked in my favor because it made me have the courage to actually look at my life and go, well, instead of being a worker bee, how about you try and just do this by yourself? But in between that, I had this massive, you know, in April and May, I had this massive conniption. So when I threw a tantrum, because that's what the child does, how I throw a tantrum is I want to escape from the situation. So it activated the victim archetype, but it also activated the addict. So how my addict shows up in my life is through reading and watching movies. And I am not talking about a little bit. I'm talking about reading until 4 in the morning and then getting up groggy and then just reading again for weeks on end, or watching movies. I didn't want to look into reality and deal with the situation because I couldn't do anything about it, and we were all in lockdown. And so what happens is, because I activated the addict and I'm full blown in my addict, I am victimizing myself. So I am making myself a victim. And like the domino effect, so the child gets offended, cannot be in control, throws a tantrum, I victimize myself, and out comes my sabotaging patterns. So my procrastinator is huge when I'm having a conniption and I'm throwing a hissy fit. So I, procrastinator wanting to even get out of the addict, to face reality and do all those kinds of things. So sabotaging. And then I activate the prostitute. So the prostitute is where you harm yourself by not doing the things that you want to do. I'm prostituting my soul. So my self-worth activates. All my worthiness, I beat myself up. Shame, blame, guilt. How dare I do this? I know better. All those things. So all four are active in my field. It's a complete domino of all my self-esteem issue. So there is 4 archetypes, which are your soul esteem, which can help you. They're the higher us archetypes. There was a gentleman called Jim Curtin who taught these. So the higher aspect of the child is the sovereign, or the queen king. I like to say sovereign. The higher aspect of the victim is the warrior. The higher aspect of the saboteur is the alchemist, or the magician. I like alchemist. And the higher aspect of the prostitute is the lover. So what happens is this. So just like you have all 4 active, pulling you down, causing havoc in your life, you have the 4 that can help you. The sovereign comes in, and the sovereign is, you see what you're doing. You can see the sabotaging, the victimizing, where you got offended. You can see that you're not happy, that everything's wrong, your self-esteem's fucked, your self-worth is in the toilet, and you can start to go and be brutal with yourself and go, okay, mayday, mayday, mayday. That's the higher part of the child. So the child's like, okay, yes, you're offended, yes, you're hurt, yes, you're not wanting to face reality, but the sovereign's going, it's time to face reality. Look at what you're doing at yourself. So the sovereign will go, okay, warrior, it's time to stop being a victim. We're going to activate the ultimate courage to face your shadow, face your demons, and one by one, we're going to do this. And then that activates the alchemist. So the alchemist is, no matter what happens, because you remember the alchemist is the higher part of the saboteur. So no matter what happens, you commit yourself, because you can see you're being strong. You're going to commit yourself to alchemizing your way out of it. So if your addict comes out, your saboteur comes out, your perfectionist comes out, your procrastinator, maybe you're bullying other people to deflect from your own stuff. Maybe your empath is in shadow. Maybe you're martyring yourself. Whatever comes up, you have the strength, because you can see with the sovereign, strength of the warrior, and you become the ultimate puzzle master with that alchemist, and you just keep going layer upon layer. And you do all of this because of the lover as well. You, instead of giving, instead of doing everything for everybody else, instead of thinking all these things about yourself, the nasty thoughts, the shaming and the blaming, the guilt because you haven't been doing what you should have, everything that is about your self-worth, you get shifted up into that lover. And the lover archetype is because you love yourself enough to put yourself first. You love yourself enough to commit with that alchemist. No matter what is coming up, I'm going to face this. So those are, I call them your soul esteem archetypes, and they're going to save the day, and it takes work. But as you're going through these things, these miraculous things happen. And I'm talking like it took me 5 years. The people I coach and help with the counseling, archetypal counseling, sometimes it can be done faster because I'm like shoving the information down their throat like they're little baby birds. But it depends on the level of layers. It really does. And you can't judge another person's journey because you have no idea how much trauma and triggers have to be one by one helped. So you have the soul esteem. The more you start to not be triggered, to be very, very aware of your self-esteem issues, and you decide, no, I'm going to be in my sovereign, and I'm not going to be offended by that. That is your business, your story, and your bullshit. And instead of going into the trigger, instead of getting offended, instead of thinking this person's trying to belittle me, this person's judging me, oh, what if this person says all these things and everyone starts to think I'm doing something but I don't do it. You can't go into these stories. It's not your stories, it's theirs. You're going to hemorrhage your power and hemorrhage your sovereignty if you care what other people think about you. And that's a big one. And that one takes time. But it's true. The moment you give your power away to someone else and what they think of you, the moment you are activating your child, and then you victimize yourself. So it takes time, but you step up into that sovereign and you become really rock solid in who you are. And the more you commit to being in those soul esteems, you commit to being the strong warrior, you commit to alchemizing the fuck out of everything, you commit to loving yourself, things start to shift, and it becomes so much easier to be in those soul esteem archetypes. It is easier. And when you pop down and you get triggered, it becomes like an irritation because you know better and you can alchemize your way out of it. You're going through that now and it feels awful. Yes, it does. And it feels awful because you're not supposed to be living that way. It's as simple and as hard as that is. Everybody that goes on any kind of a spiritual journey will go through this journey of self-empowerment, and you can do it in many different ways. I do it with archetypes because it just makes sense to me. That's my thing. There's other people who use meditation and yoga, and they'll shift their triggers and they'll do different things like with that. Other people can do it with, you know, that Hawaiian shamanism thing, Ho'oponopono. That's an element of ties in when I talk about being holographically aligned. They're like all the great religions, most of the esoterical studies, they're all teaching the same thing. But you just, as a human, you'll go along and you'll resonate with one of the teachings, and mine was archetypes. Yes. So you know how Joe Vitale talks about 0 point, Nicole? And how you have source energy and you have 0 point, and then you have M for memory, and then you have this being in the story. So your archetypes and everything that I've just described now is in the M for memory part. So what I mean by that is, say you get an intuitive thought to do something, and it comes down into your field. I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to learn this. I'm not going to react. I'm not going to do such and such. So that comes down. You have that intuitive thought. But then when you go like, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to study this. I'm going to teach this. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to move here. I'm going to go on this holiday. I'm going to go and have a cup of coffee. You have a thought to do something. And you've got two choices. If your intuition is telling you to go and do that thing, you can either take action and go and do it, or you can get stuck in the memory, as Joe talks about. But when I'm talking about it, it's not memory, it's your trigger of your archetypal system with those 4 soul esteems. So I'm teaching pretty much the same thing as he is in that flavor, but with different wording. It's just archetypes. So what he calls memories and trigger points is very similar to your self-esteem issues and all how they get interlinked. And that's where you hemorrhage your power in that moment by going into the memory of the past issue, or memory into this, or memory into that. That's when you stay stuck in the now, and you're not getting to that 0 point, and you're not connecting with source, and you're not going up into your soul esteem. So it very much connects with Joe's work, and I talk about that in one of my modules. And I love his work. It makes a lot of sense. And do you still practice and do the cleaning? I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. Do you do that every day? Let's take another sip. All the time. Perfect. And so when you're wanting to take that action, and you can use that when I'm talking about the saboteur and the alchemist. If you're wanting to work on a specific block, you can use that as your repetitive thing. It's a ritual, it's ceremony, and it reprograms your brain and energetically clears you at the same time. So anyone that can practice that can really work through that sabotaging patterns. What time is it? I actually don't know how long I've been talking for. Probably a long time. I'm wondering if there's a way that I can tell. Dun, dun, dun. I don't know. I actually might better get going because I can't tell how long I've been chatting. But I really hope that this helped you, Nicole, and anybody else that watches this. 7:25 a.m. I think that would be 9:25. So yes, I think I better pop off from here. So it's been lovely. I hope what I've said has helped. And if you feel brave enough, Nicole, I do encourage you to pop into the group and talk about and inspiring something that helped you along your journey. But you don't have to if you don't want to. But if you're wanting to be courageous, and something that you feel pushed to kind of do for confidence, then yes. But if you don't need, if you're not wanting to, then you don't have to. So I'm sending love to everybody. Thank you for spending time with me tonight. Sorry about not doing any readings, but I don't even know if you can hear it, but I'm like all blocked up. And I'm gonna go and take a ton more of my garlic and horseradish tablets and stuff. So much love to you all. Bye.